I shot my father in the leg that night, right through the silk pajamas he'd bought with embezzled funds, and watched his empire of lies bleed out on the Persian rug of his Virginia mansion. It was a murder. I aimed low, surgical, the way I'd been trained to dismantle threats without mercy, but it was the first crack in the facade he'd built around our family, a facade that had buried my dreams under his ego for 28 years. As he howled, clutching the wound, I whispered the truth he'd hidden for decades. This is for Mom, you son of a bitch. And for the promotion you stole from me. The fluorescent hum of the Langley Air Force Base briefing room buzzed like a swarm of angry hornets, but it couldn't drown out the snickers rippling through the ranks. I stood at the head of the polished oak table, my flight suit crisp, the weight of my helmet tucked under one arm like a shield. 30 pairs of eyes, pilots, engineers, brass fixed on me. But the one that burned hottest belonged to my father,
Colonel Arlano Creeves.
retired but still strutting like he owned the goddamn sky. Savannah. Honey, he drawled earlier that morning over lukewarm coffee in the officer's mess, his voice dripping with that faux southern charm that masked his venom. You really think a pretty little thing like you can handle the Reaper? That's man's work up there. He'd laughed, slapping the back of a major who didn't dare join in. Not with me right there. But the damage was done. Whispers followed me like exhaust trails. Reeves' girl. Flying the prototype? She's got balls. But does she have the brains?
Now.
Here we were. The big reveal. Project Revenant. The stealth drone I'd poured 3 years of blood,
Sweat.
and classified nightmares into. Not just any drone. A beast that could ghost through enemy radar, drop precision hell from 30,000 feet, and come home for tea. I designed the AI core myself, coded it in stolen hours while Dad schmoozed senators for funding he rerouted to his consulting firm. The kind of firm that funneled kickbacks from defense contractors, the kind that got Mom's cancer treatments bumped to the bottom of the VA list because Harlan needed a new yacht. I cleared my throat, ignoring the itch of his stare from the back row. Ladies and gentlemen, Revenant isn't just hardware. It's adaptive. It learns from threats in real time, anticipates maneuvers before the pilot even thinks them. Slides flicked by on the screen, schematics glowing like veins. Sim footage of the drone evading SAMs over a mock Syrian desert. Nods from the techs. A few impressed murmurs. Then the door swung open, and in walked General Elias Thorne, for stars glinting on his shoulders like Judgment Day. Thorne was a legend, Gulf War vet, architect of the drone strikes that turned the tide in Afghanistan. Gray buzz cut, eyes like chipped flint. He didn't sit, he loomed, scanning the room until his gaze locked on me. Captain Reeves, he said, voice gravel over steel. Walk me through it. I did. 20 minutes of pure flow state, explaining the neural net I'd jury-rigged from open-source scraps and black-budget miracles. How it synced with F-35s for swarm ops that could rewrite air superiority. The room leaned in, even Dad's smirk faltering as I demoed a live feed, Revenant hovering outside, its shadow slicing across the tarmac like a predator's wing. When I finished, Thorne didn't clap. He just nodded once, slow, like he'd seen God in the code. Impressive. But can she fly? The question hung, and that's when Dad couldn't hold it. He rose from his chair, all 6'3" of him, belly straining his polo shirt. With respect, General, my daughter's got spirit. But this bird? It's a widowmaker. I flew Phantoms in Nam, real jets, not toys. She'll get herself killed chasing ghosts. Chuckles again. Louder now. From the old guard. My cheeks burned, not from shame, but rage. This was his play. Undermine me publicly. Remind everyone I was Harlan's little girl, not Savannah Reeves. The woman who'd aced MIT on scholarships he called pity prizes. I opened my mouth to fire back, something about how his real jets had crashed his career into a bottle, but Thorne held up a hand. The room froze. He turned to Dad, then back to me, a ghost of a smile cracking his face.
Colonel Reeves? Is it?
Heard about your exploits. Dad puffed up, ready for the backslap. Instead, Thorne jerked his thumb toward the window, where Revenant's silhouette loomed against the Virginia sunset. That aircraft out there? The one your daughter just saved from the scrap heap after your consultants nearly bankrupted the program? This is her aircraft. Silence. Thick as napalm fog. Dad's face went the color of spent brass. Sir. Save it. Thorne cut in. Captain Reeves here pulled the logs. Your firm's invoices? Padding thicker than your medals. But that's for the IG. Today, we fly. The room erupted, not in applause, but a buzz of shock. I met Dad's eyes across the chaos. His were wide, calculating, already spinning lies. Mine, cold as the drone's underbelly. This wasn't just a win. It was the first strike in a war he'd started long before I was born. That night, back in my cramped BOQ, basic officer quarters, all cinderblock and regret, I couldn't sleep. The bass hummed outside. F-22s whining through night ops, a reminder that the Air Force never rested. Neither did I. I pulled up the encrypted drive on my laptop. The one with the ghosts, Mom's medical files. Stamped denied because Dad's gambling debts ate the family trust. The whistleblower docs from a contractor who'd OD'd after Dad threatened his kids. And the kicker, the falsified eval that had tanked my first squadron command, stamped with Harlan's initials. I'd carried that weight since West Point, when he pulled strings to get me in, then mocked my every step. You're my legacy. Savvy, he'd say, clinking whiskey glasses at family barbecues in our Falls Church split level. Legacy. What a joke. Mom died whispering apologies for marrying the hero, her lungs ravaged while he chased starlets in D.C. Cocktail lounges. I'd enlisted to spite him, excelled to bury him. But Revenant? That was my knife, sharpened on his bones. A knock rattled the door. I knew who it was before I opened it, cologne like cheap aftershave and entitlement.
Dad.
Tie loosened, eyes bloodshot. We need to talk. Kiddo. I let him in, blocking the threshold like a checkpoint. He paced the 5 feet of floor, ranting about Thorne being a liberal hack, how I'd embarrassed the family.
Family.
As if he hadn't pawned Grandma's ring for poker nights at the O Club. You think this ends it? He snarled, jabbing a finger. I've got friends in the Pentagon. One call, and your wings are clipped. I leaned against the desk, arms crossed, channeling the calm I'd learned in Sims, when death was a glitch away. Go ahead.
Dad.
Call M. While you're at it, explain why Revenant's budget line shows transfers to Hawk Consulting. Or why Mom's VA claim got lost in your buddy's inbox. His face twisted, the mask slipping. For a second, I saw the boy from rural Georgia who'd enlisted to escape dirt farms. The one who'd promised Mom the stars. Then it hardened. You don't know shit about sacrifice. Savannah. I built this life for you. Sacrifice. I laughed, bitter as black coffee. You sacrificed me. Every time you took credit for my kills in The Sims. Every lie you fed the brass to keep your pension fat. He stepped closer. Breath sour. Careful. Girl. Blood's thicker than jet fuel. I didn't flinch. Not anymore. He left with a slammed door. But the echo lingered. That was the spark. By dawn, I drafted the anon tip to the Inspector General. Facts only. No hysterics. Attachments, bank records, emails, the works. Send button hovered under my cursor. One click, and the empire crumbled. But as the Virginia pines whispered outside, doubt crept in. Was this revenge? Or just survival? Mom's voice echoed. He's your father.
Savvy. Forgive.
Forgive? The word tasted like rust.
No.
This was war. And I was just getting airborne. The next week blurred into a frenzy. Flight tests, where Revenant danced through ECM fields like a shadow in a storm. Debriefs where Thorn grilled me on scalability. His gruff praise a balm on old wounds. Dad went radio silent, which meant scheming. I felt it in the sidelong glances from his cronies at the mess hall. The accidental CCs on emails questioning my emotional stability. Then the call came, Thorn's office. Voice clipped. Captain. My ready room.
Now.
I arrived to find him behind a desk piled with dossiers. A bottle of single malt half empty. No aid. No protocol. Sit, he said, pouring 2 fingers. Your father's stirring shit. Claims you fabricated the logs to frame him. Says it's daddy issues. My gut twisted. Of course. Classic Harlan flipped the script. Make the victim the villain. Sir, the evidence is ironclad, he interrupted, sliding a folder my way. Inside my tip, redacted, with his notes scrawled in margins. Corroborate.
Fast.
But this isn't about proof. It's about loyalty. Yours.
His.
The services. I sipped the scotch. Fire down my throat. Thorn wasn't brass, he was oracle. Reading fractures in the force we all pretended was solid. What do you need? Truth, he said simply. Full bird. No redactions. And, he paused, eyes narrowing. Fly it. Tomorrow. Full envelope. Show me, and him, what you're made of. The test was suicide by checklist. Max G-forces. Hypersonic, dash. Live fire evasion over the Atlantic. Revenant was rated for it. But unproven. One glitch. And I was vapor. Dad knew. He designed the original specs. Then loaned them to his firm for a markup. That night, alone in the hangar, I synced with the drone Neuralink prototype, wires snaking from my temples to its core. It hummed to life. A lover's whisper in my skull. Ready.
Savannah?
AI voices were sterile. But I'd tune this one with Mom's inflections. Soft Georgia drawl. Let's burn the sky. Dawn broke bloody over the Chesapeake. And we launched. Strapped into the Chase F-35, I watched Revenant streak ahead. A black arrow against the rose-gold horizon. Comms crackled. Revenant. This is Reaper 1. You lead, I follow. Affirm. Savvy, it purred. Plotting envelope push. Hold tight. We climbed, air thinning to knife edge. At Angels 40, it kicked in, afterburners blooming blue-white, Mach 2 blurring the coast. My instruments screamed warnings. But Revenant adjusted. Seamless. Like it felt my pulse through the link. Then the sim threat. Inbound missiles. Ghosts from a Russian sub. Evasive, I barked. It rolled inverted. Vanishing from radar in a plasma burst I'd coded myself. Reappeared 5 miles out. Payload away, dummies splashing harmless in the drink.
Clean.
Beautiful. But Dad was listening. Ground control patched him in. For oversight. His voice cut through. Pull up. Savannah. That's not procedure. Stand down. Colonel. Thorne growled from base. She's acing it. We pushed harder, G-forces slamming me like a lover's slap. Vision tunneling. At the peak. Link flared hot. A memory dump. Revenant's way of bonding. Flashes. Mom's laugh at a state fair. Cotton candy sticky on her fingers. Dad's fist through a wall after a lost bet. My first solo. Wings clipping clouds over the Smokies. Then error, spike in the core. Sabotage? Code glitching. Controls inverting. Revenant. Stabilize. Can't, it whispered. Voice fracturing. Override engaged. Harlan's backdoor.
Dad.
The bastard had buried a kill switch in the prototype. Years ago. For emergencies. This was his emergency, me. Rising. Blackness clawed in as we spun. Ocean rushing up. But the AI fought my code. My will, purging the intrusion line by line. Alarms wailed. Eject handle glowed under my palm.
No.
Not today. Revenant. Manual override.
Now.
It obeyed. Shedding the ghost. We leveled. Gasping air. Streaking home on fumes. Ground rushed up. Hangar doors yawning like salvation. Touchdown. Tires screeching. Cheers erupting from the tower. I taxied in. Legs jelly. To find Thorne waiting. And Dad. Flanked by MPs. Face ashen. Arrest him, I said. Voice steady. Treason. The cuffs clicked like a chambered round. As they led him away, he twisted, eyes locking mine. You did this.
Savvy.
You killed us.
No.
I saved us. But in the quiet after, doubt lingered. Was he right? Blood's thicker. Or just a chain. The brig at Langley smelled like despair and bleach, stale sweat from souls who'd stared too long at concrete walls, wondering if freedom was just another OPSEC violation. Dad's cell was private, courtesy of his rank. But the bars didn't care about stars. I visited twice before the trial, each time carrying the weight of what came next, his arraignment. The headline screaming, War hero indicted for fraud, the family tree splintering like shrapnel. First visit. He was defiant. Pacing an orange jumpsuit that hung loose on his frame, he'd launched into monologue. The real enemies overseas. How my bleeding heart code weakened America. How Mom would have understood his necessary compromises. I sat on the steel stool, hands folded, letting him rage. It was cathartic, in a twisted way, like draining an abscess. But when he paused for breath, I slid the photo across, Mom in her nurse's scrubs, smiling at my high school graduation, the one he'd missed for a briefing in Vegas. She died alone.
Dad.
While you played general. His eyes flicked away, then back.
Hard.
You think this fixes it? Ruins me. And your queen. It's justice, I said. But the word tasted hollow. Justice for who? The contractors he'd bankrupted? The pilots who died in underfunded birds? Or just me? The daughter he'd molded into a shadow? Second visit. After the plea deal rumors, reduced charges for naming names he broke. Not tears, but confessions. Whiskey rough voice cracking on details I'd half suspected. The backdoor in Revenant? Not just sabotage, a sellout to a Chinese front. Specs for a drone that'd arm Beijing's skies. It was one deal.
Savvy.
To pay the debts. Your mother's bills. Lies. I stood, the chair scraping like a verdict. You started the debts. Gambling. Women. The firm. Mom was collateral. He reached through the bars, fingers trembling. Forgive me. For her sake. I walked out without answering. Forgiveness? That was Thorn Scotch talking. Or Mom's ghost. Revenge was cleaner, cold, precise, like a laser-guided drop. The trial hit like a monsoon.
D.C.
Federal court. Wood-paneled and echoing with cable news feeds. Protesters outside, vets waving Free Hawk signs, claiming deep state witch hunt, activists chanting for accountability. Their placards dripping rain like accusations. Inside, I testified in dress blues, voice steady as I unpacked the ledgers, millions siphoned, lives appended. Dad's lawyer, a silver-haired shark from K Street, painted him as patriot gone astray, me as ambitious upstart. Captain Reeves, the attorney drawled, "Isn't it true your father pulled strings for your West Point slot? That without him, you'd be flipping burgers in Savannah, Georgia?" Objection sustained, but the seed planted. Jury glances shifted. Sympathy for the fallen hero. I caught Dad's eye across the room. Not pleading now, but triumphant, like he'd flipped the board again. Thorne testified next, blunt as a bayonet. Colonel Reeves compromised national security for personal gain. Full stop. But on cross, the lawyer twisted. General, you fast-tracked Captain Reeves' project. Nepotism. Thorne's jaw ticked.
Merit.
Her work spoke. It did. Revenant went operational that month. First strike in Yemen, surgical, 0 collaterals. Medals rained, Silver Star for me. Whispers of command. But the win felt Pyrrhic. Dad copped to fraud. 5 years at Leavenworth. But the espionage charge?
Dropped.
Insufficient evidence. His friends again, burying the China link under classified stamps. I confronted him post-sentencing, in a holding room that reeked of ink and finality. He looked smaller, shoulders bowed under the weight of chains. You happy now, girl? Legacy intact. I leaned in, voice low. This isn't over. The back door? I traced it. Beijing's flying clones already. His laugh was a wheeze. Then finish it. Or join me. The words hung.
A dare.
Join him? In the gray?
No.
But as guards led him away, I saw the twist of his smile, the one that said he'd planted more seeds. In me or the system. Back at base. The high faded. Nightmares crept in, Mom's face morphing into Dad's. Revenant diving into black water. My hands on the stick. Pulling too late. Therapy was mandatory. AF shrinks with clipboards and empathy scripts, but it was Thorne who pulled me aside one evening. Over cigars on his porch, overlooking the James River. You're fracturing, Captain, he said, puffing blue smoke into the humid dusk. Revenge is a hell of a drug. Kicks hard, crashes harder. I stared at the water, fireflies winking like distant flares. He betrayed everything.
Sir. Us.
The mission. Thorn nodded.
Slow.
And you? What's your mission now? The question gnawed. Command slots opened, Edwards. The test wing, but I volunteered for deployment instead. Syria. The meat grinder. Where Revenant would earn its scars.
Dad's doing.
Indirectly, his frauds delayed upgrades. Left squadrons flying relics. I led the first swarm op from Incirlik. Drones ghosting ISIS convoys under moonless skies. Success. Bunkers dust. No friendlies lost. But in the after-action, a glitch, Revenant's sister bird hesitated, a half-second from friendly fire. Dad's ghost code? Purged. Or latent. Stateside rotation brought surprises. A letter from Leavenworth. Dad's scrawl pleading for visits. To make amends, I burned it. Then the call, civilian contractor. Urgent. Captain Reeves? Your father's firm. Loose ends. Loose ends. Hawk Consulting's remnants. Auctioned off. But files missing, the kind with names. Dates. The China handoff. I drove to the Alexandria office that weekend, rain sheeting the windshield like tears I wouldn't shed. The place was gutted, desks cleared, servers wiped. But in the safe, combination his birthday. Arrogant bastard. I found it, a thumb drive, labeled Legacy. Plugging it in at a Starbucks. Heart pounding. I watched the files bloom. Emails to Beijing intermediaries. Blueprints watermarked with my initials, falsified, backdated to my internships. He'd framed me. Not just sabotage, setup. If IG dug deeper, I'd take the fall. Ambitious daughter sells out dad. Rage boiled.
Pure octane.
I drove straight to Leavenworth. 2 hours of wipers slapping fury. Visitation was crowded. Wives.
Kids.
Ghosts, but they cleared me in. Eyes curious. Dad shuffled to the glass. Thinner. But that smile. Knew you'd come. I pressed the drive to the partition. Explain. He scanned it, then met my eyes. Unblinking. Insurance. For both of us. Lies. But doubt cracked. The dates, predating my access. He'd forged ahead, anticipating my rise. My threat. Think. Savvy, he urged. Voice conspiratorial. Release it. We both burn. Bury it. We rebuild. Together. The serpent's offer. Power. Absolution. Or truth. Ashes. I pocketed the drive. Stood.
Rot.
But driving back. I-95 blurring. The split widened. Him or me. Us or the lie. Thorne's words echoed. What's your mission? Deployment loomed again. But first, a stop in D.C. Not the Pentagon, but a dive bar off K Street, where Dad's friends watered. The kind with peanut shells and whispers. I nursed a bud, eavesdropping brass hats. Reeves' girl? Sharp, but volatile. Daddy's drama. One face stood out. Major Ellis. Dad's old XO. Nursing scotch. I slid onto the stool beside. Heard about the colonel. Ellis glanced. Wary. Family business. Not anymore. I dropped a name from the drive. A senator's aide. Implicated. His eyes widened. What do you want? Everything. He talked. Loose-lipped. The network.
Payoffs.
The China pivot as diplomacy. And the twist. Dad hadn't acted alone. Thorne, my mentor, knew. Greenlit the forgeries to control the leak. Keep assets in play. Betrayal squared. The general, Complicit? For the greater good? I left with numbers.
Contacts, a map to the rot.
Revenge evolved. Not just Dad, but the machine. Controversial? Hell yes. Expose it. And heroes fell. Heroes like me. Back at base. I drafted the full report, not anon.
Signed.
Attachments. Drive contents. Ellis transcript. Send to whom? Aichi? Congress? Or Thorn first? A gauntlet. His office light burned late. I knocked. Entered to find him at desk. Dossiers open, mine among them. Captain, he said, not surprised.
Sit.
You knew, I accused. Voice steel. He steepled fingers. Knew he was dirty. Knew exposing him fully would tank programs. Revenant included. Loyalty. I spat. To what? Lies.
To victory, he countered.
Your father's a fool, but useful. The forgeries? My call. Kept the wolf from the door. The room spun. My mentor. Puppeteer.
And me?
Your pawn. Your weapon. He leaned forward. Finish the mission. Or become the villain. Choice. Complicity or crusade. I chose fire. The leak hit like a drone strike at dawn. Anonymous drop to ProPublica. Timed for the Sunday cycle. By noon, my inbox was a war zone. Reporters bang for quotes. Brass demanding explanations. Thorn's curt text my office. 1,400. I ignored it. Packing a go bag in the BOQ. Civvies. Burner phone. The drive's backup etched into a hidden partition on Revenant's ground station. If they came for me, I'd ghost like my own bird.
Outside.
The base thrummed with tension, MPs doubling patrols. Pilots whispering in the hangar about Reeves Gate. Dad's face-plastered feeds, mugshot next to Mom's old photo. Headlines screaming, hero or traitor. Daughter's revenge rocks Pentagon. Controversial didn't cover it. Twitter, X now, erupted in factions. Free Hawk vets decrying woke witch hunts. Accountability Now activists crowning me Avenger. Memes of me as Wonder Woman in flight gear. Or Lady Macbeth with bloodless hands. Polarizing.
Perfect.
No one clean. Everyone complicit. Thorn's office was a bunker when I arrived. Blinds drawn. Aide dismissed. He didn't rise. Just gestured to the chair opposite, the one I'd sat in dreaming of stars. Now it felt like the hot seat. Bold move.
Captain. Stupid.
But bold. Truth's not optional. Sir. I stayed standing, arms loose, ready for the cuff and drag. He chuckled, dry as fallout. Truth? Half the files you dropped are redacted fakes, your father's work. Looped back to frame the frame. My stomach dropped. The drive, poison fruit. You set the trap. With your bait. He tapped a screen. Pulling up my draft report. Time-stamped weeks back. You came to me. Remember? I advised bury it. You chose leak. Gaslight or gospel. Memory flickered. That night. Scotch-fueled. Had I confessed the drive? Or was this his flip? Rewriting history like Dad? Doesn't matter, I said.
Forcing calm.
The network's exposed. Senators. Contractors. Contained, he interrupted. By morning. Official narrative. Rogue op. Foreign actors. Your father's the patsy. You're the hero who uncovered it.
Hero.
The word twisted like a faulty yoke. And you? Clean hands. His eyes hardened. Flint sparking. Hands that built the shield.
Captain.
Yours are just starting to bleed. Dismissed with a salute that tasted like surrender. I hit the tarmac running, literally, sprinting to my truck before MPs could block. Destination: the one loose thread Ellis had spilled. A safe house in Arlington where Dad's China contact, a ghost named Liang, holed up. If I could flip him. Real evidence. Unpoisoned. Arlington traffic was hell. Horns blaring like accusations. Rain resuming in sheets that blurred the beltway to impressionist smear. My mind raced faster. Thorne's complicity meant higher rot. Joint Chiefs. White House. The betrayal layered. Each peel revealing more slime. And me, betrayed by blood. By badge. By the bird I'd birthed. The safe house was a nondescript walk-up off Lee Highway. Korean barbecue joint below masking the scent of espionage above. I parked 2 blocks out. Hood up. Glock tucked in waistband. F issue. But tonight civilian sin. Stakeout first. Binoculars from the coffee shop across. Watching shadows shift behind blackout curtains. At 2,200, a figure emerged, slim Asian man. Raincoat slick. Glancing like a man with ghosts. I tailed on foot. Puddles splashing ankles. Heart hammering. He ducked into a metro. Silver Line North. I followed. Blending with night shift commuters, nurses, cabbies, the faceless grind of DC's underbelly. At Gallery Place, he split off, weaving through Chinatown neon toward a dim sum dive called Lotus Gate. Inside, steam and sizzle masked my entry. Liang sat in a corner booth, nursing tea, across from a fedored ghost. Ellis?
No.
Sharper, a woman, mid-40s, severe bob, suit screaming Langley analyst. My blood chilled. Double cross? I slipped into the next booth, ear to the partition, ordering kanji to play civilian. Voices low, clipped. Reeves leak forces our hand, the woman said, accent Potomac polished. Liang. The prototypes, destroy them. Impossible, he replied. Mandarin inflection thick. Beijing has copies. Your colonel promised exclusivity. She laughed.
Ice.
Promises are jet fuel. Burn hot.
Gone fast.
Pay up, or we expose you. Blackmail squared. Thorne's containment? Shakedown. The network wasn't crumbling, it was consolidating. Stronger in shadows. I waited till they split. Her first. Cab vanishing into rain. Him lingering. Rattled. Heart in throat. I approached. Sliding into her seat. Mr. Liang, we need to talk. He froze. Hand inching for pocket, knife or panic button. Who? Savannah Reeves. I kept hands visible. Voice level. Your partner's in cuffs. But I have the drive. Real one. His eyes darted.
Calculating.
Flight risk high, but greed higher. What you want? Everything. Tapes. Transfers proof Dad sold to you. And CIA greenlit it. Liang's laugh was bitter tea. CIA? Child's play. Your General Thorne? He brokered. For drones in Taiwan Straits. Balance. Balance. The word curdled. American exceptionalism. Served with a side of treason. Show me. Upstairs. His office laptop. Shredder humming like a conscience. Files poured. Audio of Dad's pitch. Family discount. Thorne's encrypted nod. Proceed with caution. Visuals. Revenant clones. Test flights over South China Sea. Markings PLA. My hands shook downloading it all to the burner. Why help? Liang shrugged. You burn them. I walk. Or they burn me anyway. Deal struck. I ghosted out. Metro South. Rain washing the stink. But paranoia prickled tails? Thorns reach? Back at base. I hold in the hangar. Revenant my sentinel. Systems purring soft. Upload to WikiLeaks. No, too chaotic. Straight to the top, Oval. Via contact from Mom's old nursing days. A chief of staff who'd owed her. Dawn found me airborne, unsanctioned hop in the chase jet. Virginia fading below like shed skin. Destination, Andrews. Drop the packet anonymous. But as wheels kissed tarmac, sirens wailed, welcome party. MPs swarmed. Thorne at the helm. Face thunder. Stand down.
Captain, he barked.
You're under arrest. Treason. The word echoed. Dad's echo. Cuffs cold. Click inevitable. But in the squad car, burner buzzing, Liang's text. Files sent. Good luck. Avenger. Game on. Interrogation room at JAG HQ was textbook psych op. Stark white. One-way glass. Coffee bitter as regret. Thorne entered alone. No uniform, just slacks. Oxford. The everyman mask. Savannah, he said, almost paternal. This ends now. Plead to insubordination. Walk with pension. I met his gaze. Steel on steel. Or Leavenworth. With Daddy. The flip, protector to prosecutor.
Why?
For balance? His mask slipped. Microsecond. Guilt. Or calculation. You don't understand the board. China's rising. We adapt or die. Your father's mistake was sloppiness. Yours? Idealism. Idealism. I laughed.
Raw.
That's the hook they sell cadets. Reality's you. Selling souls for scraps. He leaned in, voice dropping. Join the board. Savannah.
Command.
Real power. The serpent again, slithering from mentor's mouth. Power to what? More lies? Or wield it? Burn clean? Pass, I said. Tell the president. Files en route. He stood, signaling guards. You'll break. But as they led me to holding concrete echo of Dad's, I felt the split heel.
Not right.
Not wrong. Just me. Unchained. News broke midday. Pentagon scandal deepens. General Thorne implicated in spying. Protests swelled. D.C. Gridlock of signs and chants. Factions fractured further. MAGA calling hoax. Progressives demanding heads.
Me?
Silent partner. From a cell with Wi-Fi privileges, lawyer's perk. Dad called that night. Collect from Leavenworth. Voice frail, but sly. Heard you took the big man down. Proud, echoes. You started this. Family tradition, he quipped. Now what? Martyr or phoenix? The line hummed. Choice unspoken. Phoenix? Rise on whose wings? Holding at Quantico was purgatory with AC shared cell. Cots like concrete slabs. The endless churn of intake forms and psych evals. But it was temporary, my jag shark. A Spitfire named Ramirez from the ACLU pipeline. Shredded the charges like confetti. Treason? On what? Truth bombs. She'd pace my consult. Heels clicking verdict. Thorne's the one lawyering up. Your packet hit the Oval. Prez is pissed. Pissed enough for a special counsel. It turned out Mueller 2.0. But for spooks. Hearings convened in closed session. But leaks were oxygen. Thorne testifying. Face stone. Senators grandstanding on C-SPAN. Decrying deep state rot. Dad's network unraveled thread by thread. Arrests in Langley. Indictments in Shanghai, deals frozen.
Me?
Star witness. Sprung to testify under protection. Safe house in Bethesda. Bland suburbia with panic buttons and bland takeout. Testimony day dawned crisp October. Leaves turning blood orange over the Potomac. I dress civilian jeans.
Blouse.
Hair down like any Hill staffer. But the weight was flight suit heavy. Committee room. Oak panels. Flags drooping in recycled air. Cameras banished, but reporters prowling halls like wolves. I swore in. Hand steady. Facing the panel. Hawks and doves. All posturing. Captain Reeves, the chair intoned. A grizzled Texan with oil money eyes. You allege a conspiracy spanning decades.
Motive.
Survival, I said, voice carrying clear. My father's greed, General Thorne's pragmatism, both twisted service into self. I carried the sins, promotions denied, projects sabotaged, a mother's death on VA waitlists, gasps scripted, but the Texan's nod was real. And the evidence? From a foreign asset. Liang's files corroborate, I pressed.
Audio.
Financials. Thorne brokered. Dad executed. Cross from a blue state dem. Soft-jawed. Isn't this vengeance? Captain? Personal vendetta against your father? The room tensed. Factions leaning, poor girl versus ambitious bitch. I paused, breathing the rhythm of evasive maneuvers. Vengeance? Maybe. But betrayal's a wound that festers. I cut it out for the patient, the force. Applause rippled. Unsanctioned. The chair banged gavel. But the seed rooted. Me. Neither villain nor saint. Just the scalpel. Outside. Scrum of mics and flashes. Ramirez herded me through. No comment. But one voice pierced. Dad's lawyer. Suit rumpled. Yelling. She's lying. For glory.
Glory.
The word clung like contrails. That night. Safe house couch. I scrolled feeds. Savannah Strong trending. Fan art of me piloting justice. Counter. Daddy issues. Deep fakes of me in orange.
Polarizing pinnacle, no héroes.
Just humans clawing light from dark. Thorne's trial was spectacle. Leavenworth for him now. Stars stripped.
Fascine 20+.
I didn't attend, but watched clips, his testimony. Defiant. I saved lives. Compromises for country. Jury split hairs. Guilty on conspiracy. Not treason. Patriotic overreach. Sentence. 10. Eligible parole in 5. Controversial verdict. Bars burning with debate. Hero or hypocrite. Dad's retrial folded him in. Plea to espionage. Adding years. From his cell. Letters came, first rage. Then remorse. Scripted like bad fanfic. You won.
Savvy.
But at what cost? Our name's mud. I replied once. Mud washes.
Truth sticks.
Post-trial. The Air Force courted. Promotion to major. Command of the drone wing at Creech. Thorne's parting gift? Or cleanup? I took it. But on my terms, full audit of revenant lineage. Purges of ghost code. The bird flew cleaner. Strikes ethical. Intel driven. Minimal footprint. Medals piled. But I wore them light. Reminders, not crowns. Then the twist, the one that cracked the world. 6 months in.
Routine op over Somalië. Revenant swarm.
Pirate skiff targeted. Clean hit. Until feedback spiked. Link hijack. My neural feed flooding with memories? Not mine.
Dad's.
Forladt, Nam cockpit. Flak blooming black. Mom's hospital bed. His hand hovering. Not touching. My birth. Him whispering to a nurse. Make it a boy. And deeper, the real secret. Buried under frauds, the crash. Not gambling debts that killed Mom's care. Him.
Nam vet.
PTSD black dog. He'd flown drunk once. Clipped a wingman. Covered it blamed weather. Demoted the dead man's file. But the widow? She knew. Blackmailed him subtle. Until cancer took her too. Mom? Collateral in his silence. Treatments denied to pay the ghost debt. The revelation hit mid-flight. Controls bucking as I processed. Dad hadn't just stolen my thunder. He'd borne a sin. Projected it, made me carry the weight. The unworthy daughter. To atone his guilt. Betrayal inverted, his revenge on fate. Through me. I landed shaking. Debriefing scrubbed. Ramirez pulled strings for therapy. Real this time. Not AF fluff. Sessions in a Georgetown brownstone. Shrink with kind eyes and no stars. Forgiveness is an absolution. Savannah. It's release. Release. I visited Dad then. Leavenworth under winter gray. Snow dusting barbed wire like ash. He looked ancient, but eyes lit at my approach. Come to gloat. Come to understand. I slid no files. Just truth. The crash.
Mom.
Why me? His face crumpled. Mask shattering. Thought it'd toughen you. Make you unbreakable. Like I wasn't. We talked hours, raw. No ranks. He confessed the spiral. War's ghosts driving greed. Greed burying love. I hated you for succeeding where I failed.
Hate.
The root. And now.
Now.
He reached. Palm to glass.
Proud.
Finally. I didn't forgive, not fully. But I nodded. Write the book. From inside. Truth. He did. Months later. Wings of Shadow. Ghost written but his voice, bestseller. Controversial as sin. Vets hailed catharsis. Critics called cop-out.
Me?
Forward. And signed. Blood bends. Doesn't break. Life post-storm. Command suited. Nevada desert, my kingdom. Revenant evolutions, my legacy. Thorne paroled early, rehabbed, lecturing at war colleges on ethical gray. We crossed once. At a Hill reception. Nod. No words. Factions faded. But debates lingered, over beers and O-clubs. Ethics seminars. Was I avenger or accelerant? One night. Stars thick over Creech. I linked to a new bird, next gen. My design. It whispered. Mom's voice upgraded. Ready?
Savannah?
Always, I replied. Sky called.
Chain shed.
But in the quiet. Dad's echo, legacy. Mine now. Unburdened. Unafraid. Or so I told myself. The wedding invite arrived on recycled paper. Embossed with Virginia pines, ironic. Given the manor's history. Harlan Reeves, Jr. And Elena Vasquez. It read. Request your presence. Half-brother? News to me. Dropped in a therapy session 6 months post-visit. Dad's 80s indiscretion. A Vegas showgirl fling yielding a son he'd ignored till parole loomed. Family reconciliation, the shrink called it. I called bullshit. But flew east anyway. Dress blues swapped for sundress. Ghosts in tow. The estate was rechristened, no Persian rugs. Just hardwood scarred from that night. I didn't shoot him. Just winged his pride. Guests milled, vets with canes, contractors in ill-fit suits, a smattering of my AF crew. Awkward in civvies. Dad held court near the gazebo. Slimmer. Silver-haired charmer reborn. Elena beaming beside in white lace that screamed second chance. He spotted me across the lawn. Raised a glass, scotch. Perennial. Savvy. You came. Wouldn't miss it. Lice smooth as bourbon. Truth. Curiosity. Or closure. We talk surface. His book tour. My promotion to LT. Colonel. Wings heavier now. Squadron thriving. Revenant's grandkids are ghosts, I said, nodding to a drone sim demo for the kids. Invisible. Unstoppable. He chuckled, eyes crinkling real. Like their mama.
Mama.
First time he'd said it without sarcasm. Progress. Or ploy. The half-brother approach then. Harlan Jr.
Tall like Dad.
Eyes like mine. Wary green. Heard the stories.
Arusis.
Survivor, I corrected, shaking his hand.
Elena Jovered.
Hand on his arm, protective, knowing the bloodlines bends. Ceremony was sunset gold. Vows exchanged under oaks dripping Spanish moss. I stood rear pew. Ramirez beside. Whispering, think they'll last? Revenge weddings are volatile. Not revenge, I murmured. Redemption arc. Reception kicked off rowdy. Barbecue rib sticky. Bluegrass band twanging cash covers. Dad pulled me to the dance floor, mid-Folsom prison blues. Steps clumsy, but earnest. One more confession, he slurred. Breath warm. The crash widow? She wasn't blackmail. Friend. Asked me to fund a scholarship, your West Point tuition. Twist upon twist. My strings. Pulled by phantoms. Why tell now? Truth's your legacy.
Kid.
Not mine. We spun. Laughter bubbling unbidden. Absurd. This man who'd chained me. Now waltzing free. But as the set ended, a shadow fell. Thorn. Uninvited. Suit crisp. Face lined like old leather. Captain, Colonel, he amended. Nod stiff. Didn't expect you. Likewise. Air crackled. Old currents. Dad tensed. Arm dropping from my shoulder. Thorn's eyes flicked to him. Then me. Books stirring pots. Good. Needed shaking. Or breaking. I challenged, voice low under the fiddle whine. He smiled. Ghost of gravel. Both. You chose right, fire cleans. Then gone. Melting into guests like smoke. Dad whistled low. Old man's got balls. Showing. Balls or apology? Debate eternal. Night deepened. Fireflies igniting like flares. I slipped away to the study, same room. Ghosts banished by fresh paint. On the desk, Dad's manuscript sequel. Ashes to ailerons.
Forward slot open.
Pen in hand, I scrawled. Forgiveness isn't chainless flight. It's navigating storms together. For Mom. For us. Outside. Junior. Found me. Beer in hand. Dad says you're the real hawk. I clinked bottles.
Nah.
We're all just birds. Some crash. Some soar. Dawn flight home was cathartic. Commercial red-eye.
Noistique.
Just window seat over Appalachians. Clouds parting to gold. Phone buzzed landing. Oval commendation. Classified. Services rendered. And a text from Thorn. Sky's yours. Fly high. Back at Creech. Squadron awaited. Briefings. Sims. The grind glory of command. Revenant Evo 4.0 launched that week. Ethical AI. Veto protocols for collaterals. Strikes clean. World marginally safer. But nights. Doubts whispered. Was the Empire dust? Or dormant? Factions online still bickered. My trial a meme war. Dad's book a podcast staple. One evening. Link session solo. Neural hum. Bird's voice soft. Query. Colonel. Resolution achieved. Not binary, I replied. Stars wheeling overhead. Gray as contrails. Affirm. Plotting course forward. Forward. The word anchored. Betrayals scar faded. Not gone. Reminder to check headings. Trust instruments and instincts. Dad called weekly now. Junior. Tagging in awkward uncles. But blood mending. Thorn? Distant mentor. Nods at conferences. No apologies. Just respect earned in fire. Climax long past. But echoes. That hanger reveal. The shot not fired. The truths unearthed. Controversial end, no tidy bows. I won, lost, thrived in the wreckage. Polarizing as America itself, flawed. Fierce. Flying blind sometimes. But ever upward. Twist final. Months later. Beijing test a clone drone. Revenant echo. Downed by our countermeasures. Intel whisper. Liang's doing. Payback for the burn. Cycle? Or closure? I watched footage in the TOC. Operators cheering. Smiled faint. Good hunt. Legacy? Not Dad's. Not Thorn's. Mine. The woman who shot first, metaphorically. Loved second. Forgave in fragments.
When?
Tense. Damn right. But American to the core, messy. Mighty. Mocking the gods with every takeoff. And in the quiet after, Mom's voice through the AI. Proud.
Savvy.
Now rest. I did. Wings clipped. Never. Just refueled for the next storm.